Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of our open world portal system series. In the previous episode, we set up an open world portal system that allowed the user to select their destination from a widget menu. If you haven't seen that episode yet, I highly recommend checking it out first since we'll be building off of that system. In this episode, we'll be adding some eye catching visual effects such as a Niagara system for the portal, as well as having the portal rebuild itself from the ground up when activated. Before we get started, please take a moment to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. So let's go ahead and get started. For this project, I'm using an ancient typical pack that I got from the marketplace. This is a paid asset. It's usually on sale. And for what we're doing, you can actually use any assets that you want. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine. This is mostly just for the concept of what we're doing. Let's go ahead and design what our portal is going to look like first. So let's open up our portal, go over to viewport. We no longer want the cube here. And then let's start adding some static meshes. These static meshes will be some stairs that I have in my assets here. Let's use these corner stairs. This has a kind of a weird opening here, so let's add a static mesh in here as well. And this, let's set to like a floor. Go ahead and just fill in that gap. And that looks good. The next thing that we're going to do is we want our portal to have kind of a ring that the portal itself is going to be inside of. So let's add some static meshes for that. And let's name this ring 1. We'll do 2 and 3. Let's use trim curve. Yeah, let's use this one. And let's bring this down quite a bit in size. And actually, just to make sure everything lines up, let's do copy that for it's already there. And then we can just kind of turn it in place. That looks good. And then let's move this to the center. Kind of raise it up. Yeah, nothing has to be perfect here. So that looks pretty good. For these rings, these are what's going to rebuild themselves once the portal is activated. So let's go set simulate physics for all 3 of these. And there's another issue with this that when you play, these rings will interact with the collision box, and we don't want that. So let's go to each of our rings, and let's say and go to your collision and do generate overlap events, turn that off for each of these. This will keep it from overlapping with our collision box. So that's good for that. Let's now go set up our Niagara system that will be the portal on the inside. So let's go out to our content browser and first start with go to FX and let's start a Niagara emitter. Select new emitter. We want an empty template. Select that. And let's just name this uh, portal cloud, or we just call it portal. I don't know if it's gonna really look like a cloud. So we need to do a few things in here. Since we're starting with an empty project, we got quite a few things that we need to add. Go to your emitter update. We already have an emitter state. Let's add a spawn rate here. And in the spawn rate, let's set this to a pretty high number. That should be good for now. Then come down to your particle spawn. Let's turn this one off and let's add our own here. An initialize particle. And inside of this, let's keep this as, or set this to random. Um, you can just play with these numbers, whatever is going to look good. We'll do random in between 2 and 4. For the spread attribute, let's set this to random uniform. Keep this at 5 and 10 for now. The next thing, let's set up a color inside of our particle spawn. For the color, let's set this to, I kind of like this blue. Let's maybe make it a little darker. You can kind of see the color over here. And we want to add a curve to this to let the color kind of change based on the time it's alive. So let's go and do on the alpha, let's say float from curve, and then just leave those as is. For the next part, let's go under our particle update, let's add a shape location. And inside of our shape location, we want to set this to a sphere, set the radius. Let's make it look a little more dense. So we'll go 50 there. Under distribution, set this to uniform. And we want this to be the same number for our this uniform distribution. And this will make it look like it's on the outside of our sphere. If we change that, it kind of changes where they're distributing at. Let's set these both to 50 to match our sphere radius. And that should be good in there for now. Next, let's add a curl noise force. Go ahead and click fix issue here. That'll take care of that. On this curl noise force, let's set these to 50 as well. We'll set, it doesn't really matter. Again, you can go kind of change these however you want to make your portal look how you want it to. Next, let's add a vertex, vortex, sorry, force. And then inside the vortex force, again, let's set this to 50. Those are just kind of some numbers that I played around with and I liked 50, so that's what I kept using. We don't need to do anything here. For our sprite renderer, let's leave this as this default for now for what we're using. Don't see anything else that we really need to change in here. You can always play around with different effects and things in here, add all kinds of different forces to your particles, change where they're distributing over the area, all kinds of stuff that you can do in this. But for now, this is all we're going to create here. So let's compile, apply, save, and then we can close that down for now. Next, we need to add this to a Niagara system. So let's create a new Niagara system. And we're going to do a new system from the selected emitter. Say next. Ours isn't going to be in this. Let's do under parent emitters. We want to select that portal emitter that we just created and add that. Go ahead and finish, and we'll just call this NS portal. And that's going to do it for that. We don't really need to change anything in here. Our portal, we're just going to leave it like this. Again, make any changes that you want to your Niagara system, make it look how you want it. Then let's go back into here and let's add this Niagara system to our portal. Change the size a bit. That might be a little too big. That still looks a little big. Let's just keep bringing this down. That might look good. Yeah, we can leave it like that for now. We can always change and adjust this as we go. We want to set auto activate on this off. We don't want to see that until we activate our portal. And then let's come out here and let's adjust our portals. I'm going to move these around in some areas that make sense. Let's set this to auto activate so we can see it in the real world real quick. We need to not have this attached to a ring. So let's just attach this to our default mesh or default scene root for now. That way this won't move with one of the rings as we just saw. These rings are going to be broken apart like that in our world. And once we activate our portal, we want them to rebuild to activate the portal. So for now, let's turn this back to auto activate off. Let's compile and save that. Let's work on our ring position real quick. So to start with, we want to, on construction, we want to save the transforms of our rings so that we can return them to that transform or their location rotation on activate. So let's come out of each of these and say get world transform. Go ahead and promote this to a variable. And let's just name this ring one transform. Same thing with these two. Go ahead and promote to variable ring two transform. Last one here. And then connect these up. This will save the transforms once the game actually starts. That's all we need to do in the construction script. Let's jump over to the event graph. One thing we no longer need this, so let's go ahead and remove that. We fixed that issue with this little getting all widgets of the class. That was in a previous an issue we had in the previous episode, so we took care of that. Here, once we overlap, we want to call a new event. Let's actually create a custom event for this real quick, and we're going to call this activate portal. And let's call that here. So let's go ahead and set up our activate portal. For we need some more room. Let's move this down. So for returning the rings to their starting position or their activated position, we're going to use a timeline. So come off of here and say add timeline. Don't really need to worry about the name. We're only going to have one of these that is going to affect all. Let's set the length to maybe 2 seconds. And we're going to add a couple keys here. We'll go 0, 0, and then we'll add one more. And at 2 seconds, we want this to be at the full value. So this is going to act as a multiplier for a lerp that we're about to use. Let's say play from start on this. And then we want to get a lerp transform, and we're going to lerp between the original starting position and where it has fallen in the world. And this will be our, attach this to the alpha. This will be our lerp value. As time goes, it'll change this. Let's go ahead and grab ring one and say get world transform. This will be its current position wherever it's laying out in the world. And we'll attach this to A. And then we can get ring one transform, which is its original position. Attach that to B. And then based on the timeline and where it's at between these lerps, we're going to set world transform, and it's going to be for ring one. The other thing we want to do is once this returns to its activated position, we want to turn the physics back off so that it won't fall again. So come off of your ring one mesh and say set simulate physics, and we want to leave this unchecked here. And to save time, I'm actually going to copy and paste this a few times. And then we need to replace these with ring two's things. So ring two transform to V. Pull ring two out here to get world transform. Same thing here. And connect to the physics. Same thing for ring three. Let's go connect that up. Organize a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Oh, we need to put ring three transform in here. And the other thing, once we return these to where they're going, we need to attach this timeline to all three of these alphas. Let's go and see what that looks like. So these fall into the world, and once we cross this, they rebuild themselves. Teleport over to this one, it rebuilds itself. So that looks good for that. The next thing we want to do, we want to activate that Niagara system. Let's pull out our Niagara system here. And we want to say set active. And mark activate new. So now what will happen is our portal will rebuild itself. Let's let those sit for a minute. And once we interact with it, it rebuilds and we see our portal visual effects there. We can teleport around. So that's going to do it for episode 3 of the Open World Portal System series. In this episode, we built upon the portal system that we created in previous episodes, and we added some eye-catching visual effects to our portal, like a Niagara system, and we implemented a feature that makes the portal rebuild itself from the ground up. I hope you enjoyed following along and picked up some useful techniques for your own project. If you found this episode useful, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy developing. I'll see you in the next one.